Okay, so this is the third recording that I'm doing here for to see how can we together get the maximum amount of marks, even if we are not as strong programmers. So we are doing this in Python. We will not do it in pseudocode because pseudocode definitely there is actually, you can see the mark scheme, you can see many other things, and then also. The point here that the mark scheme or even Python, you're able to write lesser amount of codes, and then and the number of lines is much less. So the point here that okay, first of all, we would like to look at the feature where we need to actually get an input from the user, store it, and validate it. So we have seen in the first video, we talk about listing all the variable names, and one of them is the variable number. Okay, so let us have a look together how, if you get the template from me, then you are able to actually convert it. So I will share with you the step by step, but first of all, as a breakdown. Okay, so of course this does not really help us a lot. So I don't require you to actually read everything in the exercise or the scenario question, because I would like you to focus most of your time is in writing code. Understand, we know very well that you might not be able to have the time to even understand everything about the exam scenario question, but I'm here for the purpose of explanation. So I'm explaining this to you. What is the purpose of the code? Or what is the purpose of the exercise or the exam question? The program that you're going to create is planned or intended to store room names and dimensions of the rooms. Okay, and then we calculate the area of each room. So we have to multiply length by width, and that will give me the area of the room. So think about it. It's like making table of rooms with their names and sizes. Okay, so now the first thing that we need to do, the first feature that is required, is that we input and validate number of rooms. So we was asked in the exercise that we need to actually take a number between 3 and 12 and 20. Sorry. So if the number given by the user is wrong, we need to keep asking the user for an input. Okay, so how we do that? So let's have a look here. So this is just a template, a simple template that we are able to use it with all the exercises, not only this scenario question. So we will try to learn the template. Suppose I expect you that you should memorize this template by heart, because that is the basic tools that I need you to know to be able to actually solve this kind of exercise. So we use your memorization, okay, and then we follow the steps one by one until we are able to adapt the template as a solution, to provide it as a solution and get marks for that. Okay, so at the moment we're getting the user input. Okay, so as I said, this is a template, so it means that it's not designed to solve immediately, to be inserted immediately inside the how to say, the paper as an answer. So we take an input from the user and we put here minimum and maximum. Of course, this minimum and maximum need to be replaced by something else based on the exercise that we are trying to answer. But anyway, we need to enter values between a low number and a higher number. And then we take this as an input, and then we convert the string to an integer. Okay, so anything that we insert from the keyboard is actually inserted as a string, and they need to be converted as an integer, and then it will be stored in this user input as if it is an integer. So it means that it's possible that I can do arithmetic operation on that. Okay, so you see the while here. This while, its purpose to check the user input is less than the minimum, and so it will check if the user input here that you already input is less than the minimum or even bigger than the maximum, which means that the answer, your provided answer or input, is wrong. Okay, So if that is the case, we will actually print or keep looping and or even execute these two lines. So these two lines saying, okay, you have to enter again a number between minimum and the maximum. This is what we're going to decide, okay? And minimum and maximum here, it is, in this case, it is supposed to be a variable, okay? Minimum, variable maximum. And then, so it means that I'm able to say here minimum equal, for example, 3, maximum, for example, 5. So this could be a variables that you define even before that line, okay? So, okay, so you print something, that's one possibility, okay? And then you take an input from the user, okay? So actually, this also can be a bit ignored. We can ignore that line totally, so we can even comment it. We're still able to operate without it. And then we take an input from the user, and then we go again and check in the while loop if the input that you put is correct or not. So assume that you're expecting a minimum. Never mind. I mean, let us go next. I'm explaining here about how you can modify the input validation template so that it can fit something. I will explain how are we able to modify this template in the next slide. So bear with me. So, okay. So what we're going to do here, we are trying to actually fit or modify the template so that it works for our scenario question. So the scenario question asks to input the number of rooms between, it should be between 3 or 20, okay? 3 and 20. So the minimum and maximum should be between 3 and 20. And that's what we wrote here. So we modified that. We modified also our variable name that we're going to store the number of rooms here is that is taken from the user. We stored here as an integer. And if you see here, we modify, since we modified that variable name, we also need to modify the variable names inside the condition here. So if the number of rooms is less than 3 or bigger than 20, which means that it is outside the range provided by the exercise, so we need to loop and ask the user to input something again. So as you see here, we modify this variable, this variable, this variable. So all the same. So you modify a variable here, variable name here, then you need to apply the modification here and here and here. Okay. So actually, as we said, also we are able to comment that line because in this input in Python, we are able to put a string and we don't need to really print something before that. Okay. And that is how we actually get to modify the template to do the validation. So for any kind of validation, you're able to simply modify the variable names, input the input and put the input, the minimum number and the maximum number, and then you're able to get the code to work and you're able to get marks for that, okay? So you don't have to invent the wheel, just study your templates by heart, and then we start to modify the templates one by one until we make it as much as we can fit the exercise requirement or the exam requirement, okay? So I will stop here, and then I will try to do other recordings for different, for other algorithms that we need to modify the template to be able to make it fit the requirement of the exam question, okay? So see you. And if you actually need this template codes, so you can drop me a message on the WhatsApp. I will leave it in the description, and then I'm able to share it with you. But you have to pass certain requirements first, of course.